Welcome to Story Sale English. I hope you are having a peaceful day. Today, I want to tell you a story about a man almost everyone has heard of. When people hear his name, they think of brilliance. They think of strategy. They think of a feather fan, calm eyes, and a mind that could see 10 steps ahead. But today, I do not want to tell you the old story. I do not want to tell you only about a genius. I want to tell you about something deeper. I want to tell you about a man who lived in a broken world and spent his whole life trying to hold that world together. His name was Zhuge Liang, and maybe the most powerful thing about him was not that he was clever. Maybe it was that he never stopped carrying responsibility. If you enjoy learning English through stories like this, please subscribe to Story Sale English. Your support helps us bring you more meaningful stories for your English journey. Zhuge Liang was born in 181, near the end of the Eastern Han Dynasty. It was not a peaceful time. It was a time of collapse. Families were scattered, power was unstable. The old empire still existed, but its heart was already breaking. Zhuge Liang lost his father while he was still young. He grew up in disorder, movement, uncertainty, and danger. This matters, because people later remembered him as a man with perfect answers. But he did not begin life with answers. He began life with loss. For years, he lived away from the center of power. He studied, he farmed, he thought. He watched the world from a distance. People later called him Wuzhang, the crouching dragon. At the time, he was not famous, he was not rich, he was not yet powerful. He was only a young man with a very unusual kind of patience. He believed he could do great things. He even compared himself to famous statesmen of the past. Most people did not believe him. And honestly, that part feels very modern. Because in every generation, there are people who look quiet on the outside, but are building something huge on the inside. The world often misunderstands them. The world sees stillness and thinks it means weakness, but sometimes stillness is preparation. Then came the meeting that changed his life. Liu Bei, a man with great ambition but very little security, came to visit him. The famous tradition says he came 3 times before Zhuge. Liang agreed to meet him. Whether every detail happened exactly like that or not, the meaning is powerful. One man was searching for a future, and another man already had a map in his mind. When Zhuge Liang spoke, he did not offer comfort. He offered clarity. He said Cao Cao was too strong to fight directly. He said Sun Quan in the east should be an ally, not an early target. He said Jing Province and Yi Province could become the base of power. He saw a divided future before that future fully existed. This became known as the Longzhong Plan. It was one of the most famous strategic conversations in Chinese history. But what makes it powerful is not just intelligence. It is the discipline of seeing reality clearly. That is rare. Many people are emotional, many people are brave, many people are loyal. But how many people can look at a chaotic world and say calmly, "This is where we are. This is what is possible. This is the path." That is what Zhuge Liang did. Soon history moved fast. Cao Cao came south with enormous force. Jing Province shook. Liu Bei was pushed into retreat. Everything could have ended there. It was in this dangerous moment that Zhuge Liang went to meet Sun Quan and argue for alliance instead of surrender. He was still young. He had no great army behind him. What he had was judgment. He understood that if these powers did not unite, they would be destroyed one by one. His mission helped make the Sun-Liu alliance possible, and that alliance led to the victory at Red Cliffs. This is the kind of thing modern people often forget. A lot of history is not changed by the loudest voice. It is changed by the clearest mind at the most dangerous moment. After Red Cliffs, Liu Bei's situation improved. Territory was gained, possibility opened. And Zhuge Liang did not only advise from a distance. He also managed practical things: supplies, taxation, logistics, the real boring parts that keep a state alive. Later, when Liu Bei took Yi province, Zhuge Liang became even more central to the system. And here is where I think the real Zhuge Liang becomes more interesting than the myth, because myths love dramatic moments. But real greatness is often administrative. That sounds less exciting, but it is true. Winning one battle is hard. Building a state is harder. Keeping it alive when it is poor, threatened, and surrounded by stronger enemies, that is harder still. Zhuge Liang was not just a man with ideas. He was a man who could turn ideas into structure. Then came one of the darkest moments of all. Liu Bei declared himself emperor. Zhuge Liang became chancellor. But soon after, Liu Bei launched a campaign against Sun Wu and suffered a terrible defeat at Yiling. He retreated to Beatty City, sick and broken. There, before his death, he entrusted his son Liu Shan to Zhuge Liang. In one of the most famous scenes in Chinese history, he told Zhuge Liang that if the heir was worthy, then help him. If not, Zhuge Liang could make his own decision. Zhuge Liang wept and vowed loyalty until death. This part is often remembered as noble. And it was, but it was also heavy, because from that moment on, Zhuge Liang was not just an advisor anymore. He became the man who had to hold everything together: a young ruler, a fragile kingdom, a dangerous frontier, a stronger enemy. A wounded state with limited resources. And this, to me, is where his story becomes deeply relevant to people today. Many people in 2026 know what it means to become the responsible one, the one who remembers everything, the one who plans ahead, the one who fixes what others ignore, the one who cannot relax because too much depends on them. That was Zhuge Liang, on the scale of a kingdom. After Liu Bei's death, he governed Shu with great intensity. He repaired administration. He strengthened law. He promoted agriculture. He worked on state finance, salt, iron, and textile production. He tried to make the state disciplined, efficient, and morally serious. He was strict, yes, but he was also known for fairness. Reward and punishment were clear. Personal closeness did not excuse failure. Responsibility mattered. This is one reason people still respect him. He did not simply talk about duty. He built his whole life around it. And he did it without turning public power into private luxury. In his own memorials, he made clear that he had not enriched himself. He spoke of modest family property and said that when he died, he did not want extra wealth left behind to shame his ruler. That kind of statement is powerful in any age, but especially in an age when power so often becomes self-interest. Then he turned south. The southern territories were unstable. Rebellion there threatened the survival of Shu. Zhuge Liang led the southern campaign and restored order. Later stories turned this into legend, but the deeper truth is strategic. He knew he could not dream of going north while the rear was unsafe. First stabilize, then move. First remove chaos, then pursue ambition. That is such a modern lesson. Not every problem should be attacked at once. Some things must be handled first because they are the base for everything else. Zhuge Liang understood sequence. He understood foundations. He understood that emotional urgency is not the same as strategic timing. Only after the South was stabilized did he begin the project that would define the rest of his life, the Northern expeditions. And this is where the legend and the real man begin to separate. The legend says he was almost superhuman. The real history is more moving than that, because the real Zhuge Liang did not win easily. He struggled, he adjusted, he failed. He took responsibility, and then he went again. Before the first Northern campaign, he wrote the Chushi Bio, the famous memorial often translated as the memorial on the eve of departure. It is not just political writing. It is one of the most moving documents in Chinese history. It is loyal, personal, serious, and full of burden. It shows a man who knows how much depends on him, and how uncertain the road ahead will be. The first campaign began with promise. Some commanderies responded. The momentum looked real. Then came the failure at Jiating. Ma Su disobeyed orders, the campaign collapsed, and what did Zhuge Liang do? He did something many leaders today still do not do. He accepted responsibility. He punished Ma Su, yes, but he also demoted himself. He did not protect his pride. He did not say, "This had nothing to do with me." He believed that using the wrong person was also his failure. That alone tells us so much about him. He was not only smart, he was accountable. Then came another campaign, and another, and another, and another. 5 major northern expeditions, march after march, hope after hope. Supply after supply, sometimes progress, sometimes retreat, sometimes tactical success, sometimes strategic frustration. Again and again, he tried to do something many would call impossible. Force history to move in a direction that material conditions did not easily allow. This is why I think the best modern reading of Zhuge Liang is not genius. It is long-term struggle under impossible constraints. That is what makes him feel alive now. In 2026, many people are not facing battlefields, but they are facing impossible constraints. Limited money, limited time, family pressure, career pressure, aging parents, children, health, burnout, fear of falling behind. The feeling that no matter how hard you work, the mountain is still there. Zhuge Liang speaks to that feeling, not because he always overcame it, but because he kept walking toward the mountain anyway. And here is the most painful part. The more capable he was, the more the state depended on him. The more it depended on him, the more he took on personally. The more he took on, the more he wore himself down. By the time of his final campaign, even his enemy Sima Yi is said to have learned about his daily routine and concluded that Zhuge Liang would not live long. He woke early, slept late, ate little, managed too much. He was not only fighting Wei, he was fighting time, fatigue, and the limits of the human body. And maybe this is the most modern sentence we can say about him. He became trapped by his own reliability. People trusted him because he was capable, so more was placed on him, and because more was placed on him, he could never fully rest. How many people today know that feeling? You become the strong one, Then everyone comes to you. You become the careful one. Then everything lands on your desk. You become the dependable one. Then the burden never leaves. In 234, during the final northern campaign, Zhuge Liang faced Sima near Wuzhang Plains. The armies remained locked in tension. No decisive breakthrough came. Then Zhuge Liang fell ill. Even near death, he arranged the army's withdrawal and succession matters. Even then, he was thinking about what would happen after him. And then he died in camp at the age of 54. 54, not old. Not at all. That number makes the story hurt in a different way, because it reminds us that history's strongest people are not machines. They are finite. After his death, legends grew around him. People made him magical. People gave him miracles, supernatural knowledge, impossible calm, and theatrical brilliance. Some of those stories are beautiful, but the real Zhuge Liang does not need magic to be unforgettable. The historical man is already powerful enough. He was the thinker who entered chaos, the planner who became a builder, the loyal minister who became the backbone of a state, the strategist who also understood farming, law, tax, transport, and personnel, the public servant who did not use public duty to enrich himself, the leader who made mistakes and admitted them, the exhausted man who could carry a kingdom but could not carry his own body forever. That is not a flat, heroic story. That is a deeply human one. So why does Zhuge Liang still matter now? Because he shows us that true intelligence is not showing off. It is seeing clearly. He shows us that true leadership is not simply giving orders. It is taking responsibility. He shows us that true loyalty is not dramatic words. It is years of hard, disciplined, mostly invisible work. And he shows us something else too. A person can be admirable and still pay a terrible price for being the one who always carries everything. That is why he still touches people. Not only because he was brilliant, but because he was burdened. Not only because he thought ahead, but because he gave too much. Not only because he became legendary, but because underneath the legend, there was a man doing everything he could with the time, strength, and life he had. Today, when we learn English, we are also doing something slow and disciplined. We are building ourselves little by little. We are not changing in one dramatic moment. We are growing through patience, through repetition, through effort that may not look exciting from the outside. And maybe that is another reason Zhuge Liang still feels close to us. He reminds us that the most meaningful growth is often quiet, one decision at a time, one habit at a time, one page at a time, one story at a time. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story, and I hope it helped you with your English learning. Please subscribe to Story Sale English, and leave a comment below telling me whose story you want to hear next. Until next time, keep learning, keep listening, and keep moving forward.